So I didn't quite hear the last part correctly, but is it related with the having too many people means too much burden on you?
Yes. No, it means you have to really invest in your effort to, because you have to find your people in there.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put that down bluntly as costly, right? Because having more board members doesn't mean it's free. Typically, the board members can be the VC associates themselves who have to sit on these board of directors, or they could be experts in the employment of these VC firms. In either case, okay, these board members are not free. Right? Just as you are board of members in the board of directors in the public companies, you have to remunerate them. Right? So that's always a trade-off. On the other hand, you also want the board seat. Most of the time, a lot of these things, especially the lead investor. Last time, one of the aspects that I'm not sure whether I talked about or not, but I was hoping to see, okay, was that some VCs might be talking to each other, okay, and you let somebody else lead the negotiation. This happens in real life sometimes. Okay, talking to entrepreneurs can take time, so that means instead of 5 VCs talking to the founders at the same time, you could just say, hey, you know what, you go and talk to that deal, and if you like that deal, let me know, I'll go and join you as well. Then you'll be the lead investor for it. Okay, so sometimes you see that when the VCs join together, okay, and finance around together, maybe not all VCs will ask for a board seat. The lead investor will ask for a board seat, because I think comes with the responsibility of managing the company. So on the one hand, you do want to have representation, because that's the only way you have any meaningful change. Right? One of the benefits that come with being board members is that you get to propose, okay? You get to legally propose company motions. And also for big transactions, like we want to sell to this acquirer, okay? We want to expand the business, we want to acquire the company. Some of these decision matters are left to the board decisions. Okay, so without the representation of the board of directors, you either lose control of that process, or you don't have a way to initiate a motion. Okay, but on the other hand, we have too many people on the board of directors, it becomes costly. It also becomes too much of a negotiation process as opposed to getting things done. There are case studies of companies that receive a lot of investors' money, and they all insist on having board of directors. So you end up having, as a founder, to deal with all these board of directors, members on the team. So you have less time to do your job, but you spend time to pacify the board meetings instead. Okay, good. So under this, you can also talk about all the voting matters and so on, because they come associated with the not just how many people on the board, but what are the powers distribution in the board room as well. All right, good. Let's go to the next term. Option pool. Okay, option pool. Did we talk about this last time? Option pool. Let's go to the example of the valuation of the cap table. Just to remind you, that was the cap table, okay, or Mate, at different stages in time. In the first stage, when there's a start to the company, the next stage where they high debt, and then the fundraising stage where if the VC entered at 25%, what will that cap table look like? All these stages, shares have been distributed, okay, to rightful shareholders. But you could imagine, okay, if you remove the name debt, and let's just say future employees, the cap table will look the same. But this 10% hasn't been awarded yet. And that's what the option pool means. The question is, if That's the big auction pool. Then who pays for the auction pool? Who do you think pays for the auction pool? If they want to give, say, 10%, reserve 10%, 12.5% to future employees, where is that 10% coming out from? You might say nowhere, right? You're just creating shares. But what happens when you create shares? Look at this stage, right? We have Sarah and Angela with 50-50. Suppose bank wasn't high yet, you want to create an auction pool for high bank. So that means we're going to have an auction pool 10%. So if set a sum up to 100%, that means the remainder must be 90%. The question is, who pays? In this example, they both equally pay. Right? So their holding gets diluted from 50% each to 45% each. In principle, that dilution could occur to anyone. Could occur to anyone in any proportion. So if you're negotiating with VCs, who do you think pays for the auction pool? The standard. Usually it's the founder that pays for the auction pool. So, if your VC says, I'm going to invest in you, but I want to have an auction pool 10 to 15%. That means further dilution from your perspective. The question is that good for you? You want to have that? But do you know that once in time, but we're going to hire? Sorry?
Actually, you don't want to unless you don't have a choice.
So let me ask you this, okay, you want to have an auction pool, okay, but do you need to use that auction pool yet? Right? When you have an auction pool, it means you don't even know who's going to be paid with that. Okay, so one of the things that this may look like is dilution to you. Okay, but this is potential dilution that could happen in the future. It hasn't happened yet. You don't actually have any obligation to give out the stock options to anyone yet. Okay, so this is one of the terms that I think, when you talk to founders, they tend to feel defensive about it. Why do you want me to put in this auction pool? You're diluting me. But remember, this auction pool is in place for future prospective hires. So if you don't have anyone you want to hire using that, you don't need to use it. Right? This is basically preparing for the fact that there may be another deck that comes along. If there's no deck that comes along, you're not obligated to use that option pool at all to employ anyone. Okay, so I want to point that out because sometimes it gets a negative connotation associated with when VC asks you to set aside option pool and then losing it, and I feel defensive against that. So the option pool itself isn't always a negative thing, because it's not yet an obligation to be diluted. Okay, so if you're going to put this, where do you want to put this? What do you say? There are actually several ways of you to separate all these clauses. Let me write another separation scheme, segmentation scheme, in case you find that helpful. Okay. The alternative scheme is called, the alternative scheme is a segment that based on the ownership and economics, like how it affects our performance in the long run, and also the governance and control. So, if I shuffle this around a little bit, then the governance and control can also be moved here, and then ownership and economics shifted along here. So it's not as clear. Okay? That's why I hesitate to use the early scheme, because the control and governance and ownership, they can be very similar. Okay, so if there's no suggestion, then let me put that down in the incentives. Okay, option 4. I remember this option 4 is for prospective hire, so no need to get defensive about this yet. Sometimes when you talk to VCs, they will say that you need to create an option pool, and by the way, I think I already know who you might want to give stocks to. They may force you to give shares to some of your key employees if they think that these guys really need to be retained, but I don't think your current relationship with them is strong enough to keep in the long run. So they may ask you, okay, here's a list of key employees. I think you better give the stocks from this option pool to those employees. That can also happen sometimes. It's also rare. In most of the cases, they force you to create option pool just in case that if the company has been shown to be like a king approach, you hire people, you don't hire people using stocks at all. So they may put this into the term sheet to encourage you to use more of this employment option as well.
So the aspect of the entrepreneurs, the option to become the incentives like instead of you worker to be responsible 100%, the VC really helps you.
Sorry, can you
For the option pool, right, it's in the terms of the entrepreneurs as incentives. So it means for this prospective hire, instead of you just as a founder, you have to really responsible 100%. VC will help.
They will help part of it, but they help by sharing in the long run. But essentially, most of the time the contract, the VC forces you to give up your shares. So it's actually you who finance this.
So incentive, that means, so it's like for me as a founder, look at it, this is going to be like a force, right? So it's not quite
Okay, I see where you're going now. I was hesitating where to put this as well, because it's not really about control features, because it's not a negotiation between VC and investor, because it's both of you guys really giving up part of the company. But the question is, who of the two are giving up? Most of the time, it's the founders giving up this part of the company to potential employees. So, I hesitate to put it as control. I hesitate to put it as liquidation. And the reason I want to say it's incentive here is because if we do this, okay, we might be able to influence the mentality of the founders from someone who really doesn't want to give out any shares to anyone else to being someone who's now forced to give out shares to employees. And if by doing so you're able to attract good talent, then maybe it's an incentive, okay, for the company to be better in the future. Okay, so you can put a question mark around this because I think it doesn't really belong clearly in these three categories, but I do want to put it as others. Feel free to put it on the other side as others if you like, because I'm doing this, but there really is no structure theory that says, hey, this belongs here, this belongs there. I'm looking at some of the process that people commonly put into a term sheet and see the impact, okay, of the relationship between you and the you as founder and the VC. Okay, thanks for that comment. All right. Founder share vesting. Okay, anyone came across or experienced vesting before? Anyone, as part of your compensation package, receive stocks in addition to other components? Okay, so what does vesting mean? And why people use vesting? Okay, like I said, the question, let's answer the first question first. Vesting, anyone? Maybe you HR class or in class you've seen this vesting, stock vesting. Okay, so you guys know this concept, right? Okay, I'll just run that smart you again. Vesting simply means you don't own it yet. I give you the stocks, yes. you are entitled to the stocks. You can't touch them until it's fully vested. And this is commonly used for management alignment. Okay? You give management shares, but you don't want them to sell shares straight away because you give them shares and you want them to work hard for shares increasing value. So one way for you to make sure they still work hard once they receive the share compensation to say, you know, you can't sell it yet. You have to be with us for some time before you are able to fully sell your shares. And this vesting, do you think it's fair to founders? This is my company, right? And when you invest in my company, well, I have vesting on my own shares. What does that mean? It's my company. You invest money in my company, you say my shares have to vest over a long run. Does that sound fair? We have more people who say no, not fair, people who say fair. Okay. I think the initial reaction, most people will say not fair. It's my company, it used to be my company, I can do whatever I want with it, but now you're coming in and you say, look, your shares are now restricted. And I'm going to vest you based on a 36-month vesting, 25% of posting. So I used to hold 100%, but I could do like 50,000 shares. So my 50,000 shares used to be unrestricted. Now 25% of that is unlocked, but the remaining 25% is locked up inside the company. So when you say it's fair, why is this fair?
Because otherwise, if you don't have a waste time, then if things can go wrong, right, the founders actually can turn around, like, so I just gonna escape by just selling a share because I think I can really have control on shares already.
Right, very good, because suppose we're all shareholders in the same company, and this is our co-investment together. What's there to prevent me from selling shares to someone else? We always do that. So this is, in essence, a way for the investor to make sure that, hey, I invest in this company because I believe in you. I actually have no legal means to stop you from selling shares if I didn't put in this clause. But now that we have this clause together, I have a way of preventing you from leaving the company. Okay, I had the opportunity to interview one of the doctors who started a hospital for breast cancer recently. There's one hospital specializing in breast cancer that was opened on February a few months ago. And the doctor, also our executive in the she'll be talking on stage next year about the management process and so on. But she said very interestingly that there are three founders who built this hospital together. It is her, one of the gynecologists, and one of the pharmacists she used to work with. Three of them are the sole owners of this company. And they said, at the beginning, we signed our agreement together that none of us are going to sell shares to anyone else. If we're going to sell shares, it will either be to one of the three. Or if we're going to leave this business, we're going to leave this business together. So either everyone leaves or nobody leaves. Now they signed a contract together as a sign of commitment. They said they don't actually need that, but just to be sure, because sometimes we trust people today, but when we're in business, we face many pressure, right? Sometimes we kind of forget where we started off from. So they just wanted as assurance that, when worst comes to worst, we don't forget our promises to each other. I think it's the same. Right? People may say it's unfair, but if you really hear the long run, then this clause shouldn't actually be any problem for you at all. Right? So I think this is one of the clauses that in the ideal world you don't need to put that in. But you never know. Okay? When people are faced with challenges, you never know how to respond to those challenges. You just want to make sure that in the worst case, they're still there with you, because at least you trust them at that point, and still want to trust you going forward from here. And the next part, I think the buyback part is the unvested shares subjected by buyback market value. So I think the unvested part, if you want to sell back to the other investors, I think you can. Okay, that's the condition given as an exit clause. At least when you want to sell, just sell to people you know. Okay, don't sell out. So I think this typically is put into the incentive part to align the incentive of the founders, and we're on the same side. Ideally, we don't want to use this, but if worse comes to worse, I still want to make sure that you live up to the bargain. So this ideally shouldn't be a problem. It's a safeguard. Okay. Okay. So other key provisions. We talked about some assurances at the earlier stage. Right? Here's one of the ways that you could structure a new investment. And hey, you know what? I know that you need all the cash, but we learned in corporate finance that when you have lots of cash on hand, people tend to be overly optimistic and tend to overspend. Just imagine the days where you have a lot of cash in your wallet, and compared to the days where you don't have a lot of cash in your wallet. I know you have credit card and e-payments now, but nothing beats cash. Right? You want to see lots of cash, you feel like, I can spend this and have it. So even though you know the company needs 2.5 million, and remember our projection when we put case together 2 weeks ago, that 2.5 million, you don't need it all today. You need that over 2 or 3 years. So one way for you as an investor to make sure that you don't give it too much cash to burn is to structure investments in phases, in milestones. So here's one example of what you could do. That, okay, I'm going to be giving you the 2.5 million that you want, but you need to clear some hurdles. If you don't meet this milestone of positive EBIT, revenue 10 million and so on, then sorry, I'm not going to give you the next follow-up funds. I think the use of this is clear, okay, for business perspective. We want to point this out because when we talk about investment, most of the time the investments that we make in public securities, they're standardized. They don't come with these customized clauses. In reality, if you are able to design the contract to align incentives, there are many things you can do. And here's one of the items that you could do to not just protect the investor, perspective, but also make sure that the investors don't have too much of an incentive to lie to you. Sometimes this clause is called an earn-out clause. Okay, so you need to reach some certain triggers before some conditions are met. The earn-out clause is originally wasn't really part of VCs. Okay? Earn-out clause is like contingent payment. If you some of the guys ever played like Football Manager, you will see that when you buy football players, you don't pay everything in full. You have a lot of optionality embedded in there. And you pay Cristiano Ronaldo, but if he doesn't score every match for the next 10 matches, I'm not going to pay this out. And if he doesn't feature as a starting player consecutively or regularly, they're not going to pay this. If you bought him and you don't win the Champions League, I'm not going to pay this. Okay, so these are conditional payments, and in corporate finance we call this an earn-out clause. So you have to earn this, otherwise, it's invalid. And then you can all agree that it's really part of the incentive alignment, earn-out clause. So this is really conditional payments. And that's what makes these VC investment contracts great, because you can customize them in any way that you want to align your incentives. Okay. Now, these, they're not really terms per se. Okay. In terms of negotiating, okay, this may be some of the things that you care about. Okay. You're Maxwell, and you want to worry about your position and also your friend's position in the company. Then this may be one of the aspects you consider. If you really feel attached to the company, then some VCs insist that I think your company has good potential, but unfortunately that's just not under you. So we want to invest, but you have to accept that we want you to step down from management. You still get to own a good part of the company, you still get to ride along and become a millionaire and so on, but you just have to accept that the company has outgrown you. You have to step aside and move on. Okay, and this for some people can be a sticking point, because some VCs they do this because I think this is best for our investment. But other VCs may have a different approach. Because they're a VC that are entrepreneur friendly. So whatever the entrepreneur feels great, we're going to trust your judgment, and then we try to trust you for as far as we can. And when we talk to Monks Hill, when Kunju comes to talk about us, I think their company is known for being very founder friendly. So you can ask them more about what the VC standards are, but this is meant to give you some of the idea of different approaches that VCs would have, and that you can add back to the control features, right? Who remains in management. So I think those terms are pretty self-explanatory. In the time that we have until we reach a break, we discuss a different topic. Then I want to introduce you to these words. Okay, and we're going to see how these terms play out. Once you have them in place, when different conditions are reached, how these terms play out in a company, and that's the multi-part case. So we'll leave the calculation for next time and talk about implication of these. One of the things that we want to highlight is that when you invest in a company as venture capital, you actually don't buy normal shares. You buy preferred shares. And that's because preferred shares give you preference over any distributions or any cash flows. And that preferred shares can come with preferred dividends. Preferred dividends, sometimes it can be cumulative in the sense that I know the company doesn't have enough cash to pay, but you can accrue until the company does have enough to pay. So you owe me for all the accumulated dividends in the past. Let's say this is 8% per year, and I invest $1 million in you, then you owe me $80,000 every year of dividend payment when you do have the money to pay. Okay, so that can maybe some of the items that are included in the investment. Now, with preference, you have preference in terms of dividend payments. You also have preference in terms of liquidation. So upon liquidation, you also get paid before the common shareholders, the founders. The question is how much? Again, that's also open for negotiation. So here, this is 1x liquidation preference. What that means is, upon liquidation, I put in 2.5 million in your company. Well, when the company liquidates, you better make me full first. You need to pay 8% cumulative dividend plus the 2.5 million original balance before you get paid as common shareholders. Now, 1x is actually not harsh, okay, because I've seen people who put in 2x, 3x, 5x into liquidation preference. Not uncommon if you have a very early stage company, because you're investing when the company is only worth maybe 10 million. And by the time at the end the company exits, you may have a billion company. So this 1x or 10x is calculated based on your original investment. Okay, so it may not be that much further. Redemption rights is like a put option. Okay, suppose I want to exit, I can redeem my shares. So we talked about guarantees earlier. The company is not meet performance, what do we do? Well, if we do have redemption right, it just means we can exit the investment that we want. Voting rights as it converts to common. Typically, preferred share has not votes. Typical preferred shares. But nothing prevents you from being able to vote. If you write that I have the right to vote as well, then no problem. Okay, so they typically write this down as well. Well, skip this one. I skip this one, sorry. Non-participating liquidation preference. What does that mean? Participating liquidation preference, on the other hand, that means you get your 1x preferred returns, and when you're done, you can convert your shares to common shares, then participate as common shareholders. Okay, sometimes you call this a double dip clause. So you get the first dip as preferred shareholder, and then you convert your shares to become common shareholders, and then get your proportionate share. So let's say you put in 2.5 million and you own 25%, right? The 2.5 million you get when you liquidate the company, you get your original 2.5 million back. The common shares may still have value. So you say, wait, great, I got my 2.5 million back, plus all the cumulative dividends that you own, and then I convert my shares, and now I have 25% of whatever remains. And that's what a participating liquidation means. Let me put this down here, liquidation. Some of the features I want to care about is the preference. Preference multiple. We also have the participating versus non-participating.